that.
Every third Thursday of the month is dope. That's when the education peeps come to pass the scope. Lending a voice and new perspectives on a topic chosen by the collective. Bringing relevant PD straight to you. So what do they call it? It's past the scope PDU coming to your life. Causing a passion for learning to ignite. Amplifying voice to make learning thrive. All we do is pass the scope PDU coming to your life. Causing a passion for learning to ignite. From Thursday morning to Thursday night, all we do is pass the scope.
What up?
Hey,
What
hey.
up? Hey, everybody. This is the Pass the Scope After the Bell edition for ISTE 2020. We finally are getting on the scope to do something live. Typically, what we try to do every year in partnership with ISTE, try to give you the people's perspective of what's happening inside of the sessions, inside of the keynotes, inside of different conversations. For those that are there and for those that are at home with our, especially our not at ISTE, the crew. But it's a little different this year, Valerie.
Yeah, because it's almost like we're all not at ISTE.
Right, right. So we need to change that hashtag at least, for this year for sure. But for those that have been participating, it's been kind of crazy because some of us are still working. While these sessions are going on, at least for day 1, 2, and 3. And ladies and gentlemen, this is actually day 4 of ISTE. It got started on Saturday this weekend, and I was on the road. What?
Yeah. Life is still happening.
Right, it is. So this is how you do a conference where you typically have 20,000 folks. This is how you do it during a pandemic. And however, I must say it has been pretty cool the way things have shaped up. Regardless of the tech snafus, ladies and gentlemen, those happen. Yes,
Absolutely.
we're in the ed tech space, but it's constantly evolving. So pack your patience. When it comes to some of the sessions that are taking place, it's just going to happen. Even when we're in person.
Absolutely.
You know.
I mean, and those that are without tech issues, let them cast the first stone. You know, I mean, it happens. Technology is only great when it works. We've all had those moments where everything was queued up, everything was perfect, and then it did not work. So
Yeah.
there should be no judgment. I dare someone to say, oh, I can't believe. And I'd love to hear your experiences where it's always worked perfectly in your favor. Even in the privacy of your own home, the Wi-Fi and the spinning death wheel has occurred. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it will always be what it will always be. So don't worry about that. So, however, those that have been participating in the last couple of days, some phenomenal sessions have taken place, so far. Those while we're at work, those happening while we're after work. But today is that special day to where sessions are just now starting to happen. So everything's West Coast time. Pacific
Mhm.
Standard Time. Pacific is always a hard word for me to say. You should say specific. And my
Specific.
English teacher would get on me all the time. It's not specific, it's specific. Whatever.
Or
uh,
the library versus library.
yes. It's crazy, crazy. However, so main stage is happening, and then we'll get into sessions throughout the entire evening. So we'll get a chance to look at the schedule today. Find out what it is that you're interested in, because just as a reminder, at Pass the Scope EDU, we're really about the people. How do we bring an equitable viewing of what ISTE is for those that are there and for those that are not? So we talk a lot about equity this year, and talking about a lot of equity inside of the conference as well. But when you think about a conference like ISTE, Just let's put it out there. ISTE's an expensive conference.
Mhm.
How do we make it equitable to where everyone has an opportunity to have that access and in the manner that they actually need it in? And that's how Past the Scope, really got started with the conferences, right?
Absolutely. That's it. I mean, it was, it really wasn't anything that was self-glorifying. It was truly to be boots on the ground and hear from people that probably weren't even in our direct PLN that we didn't know, and to hear their stories and to see how things were going in their district. And then just to give them an opportunity to speak on the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think in all of this, we all understand that it's a learning journey. And connecting with other people is where the learning is going to happen. I
Absolutely.
know that we've had the nod of people saying, well, do you really want to amplify what, you know, other people are doing during their sessions? And of course with permission and things that we would ask, but I mean, who puts a presentation just to keep it tucked to themselves? Isn't the purpose of sharing the information to share the information? And why would you limit it to those that have paid or are physically there? I mean, there's so many things that we could discuss, but it was truly to make sure that that passion for learning was truly ignited. And I think because of the boots on the ground and just connecting with people in a real way, not just amplifying those people that always get the stage, we really have allowed people to say, you know what, I want to be at ISTE next year face to face, because wow, it just seems so cool to connect with people and to be a connected educator and to learn from so many people. And so I'm just glad that we were able to connect with each other, find that space, and just amplify voices and stories just happening all across the globe. And
Yeah,
hopefully we'll continue to do that work.
yeah, indeed. So we're going to try our best to amplify what's going on virtually this year, because when all this is said and done, and we get to a point where we can reconvene face to face. ISTE next year is going to be where in San Antonio again,
Yep.
2021. Coming
Yep.
back to Texas, baby.
Back to Texas.
Back to Texas. Indeed, we'll have an opportunity to really bring some exposure to the goodness, that ISTE is, and provide a space for people to really connect and really find out, the goodness that you can actually get from the learning. I'm a little distracted because I'm actually putting together. This is the beauty of technology, So while we're doing a live stream, I'm also updating the website. You can actually go to the website and actually see where we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now, because of the technical difficulties, you can find us on Twitter. You just go to hashtag PastTheScopeEDU. You'll be able to see this live stream right now. You can participate in the conversation on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We've got Rochelle. Hey. She's going to be here tomorrow, I believe, talk to us a little bit. She's out there on Facebook, and we've got Dan over here on Periscope as well. I think I saw Margaret and Derek.
Eric.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got our community in here. Let us know where you're calling us from. Oh, sorry, where you're watching us from. We'll be on the website as well. So if you go to pastthescopeedu.com. and you go to the ISTE 20s tab, you'll be able to see the live stream as well if you don't want to watch it on one of those networks. Cool? All right. So let's do this. We've got some folks here that, well, to be honest with you, I don't have very much prep because I was in a meeting when all this happened. Some folks I know, some folks I do not know, but I know one of them is going to be a really good friend of mine just based on the way he spells his name. We'll bring them in here in just a second. We've got some special guests. They're going to talk a little bit about what they've done already with ISTE or what they've got upcoming as well. I figured, why don't we just have a big party and bring everybody in at once? You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay,
And because life is happening too, Brian, while you're bringing them into the stream, at some point I may fade in the background so that I can drive my little one to gymnastics.
see,
And that's okay.
that's why you need a 16-year-old in your life.
I know.
He took her to dance. So
3 years to go, 3 more years to go, and hopefully I'll have a driver. I don't know. I can't even get him to control a vacuum cleaner around the house. I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have a crew here with us. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and throw your name tags on here so people can see who you are. Because I will be getting to know some of you as we have these wonderful conversations about ISTE. I don't know what it looks like on your panel, but on my see now my finger's going the other way. So on that side, over there. We got Valerie, but right next to her is actually a good friend of mine, right here in the heart of North Texas, Miss Poncio. Want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello. Sure. I'm Tisha Poncio, digital learning specialist in North Texas. I am an educator for 21 years. This is my 21st year in education. And it's my second ISTE experience. And I had no idea I was getting invited to a super cool party tonight. I'm so excited to see all of your faces. Brian knows.
Right. Wait, she wasn't expecting me to be on here, so
I thought I would be first, but no, you were there.
Indeed. All right, so let's do the Brady Bunch thing and let's go down. So right below me, we have Jason.
Oh, hi, I'm Jason Gay. I'm a media specialist. I'm a media specialist here just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm actually in Northern Kentucky, and this is my 15th year in education. I've worked in technology for a little over 20 years all combined. I did print and TV advertising prior to education, but now I wear many hats, and very much like you, even during our live session yesterday, I'm having people text me and message me about technology issues or whatever it might be. So I'm always, I need more hands, I need more arms. So super busy.
Don't ask for that, because if you get more hands, they're going to put more on you. So trust me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Brian.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Seymour. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology for Pickerington Schools just outside of Columbus, Ohio. Go Buckeyes. Hopefully we can play this week. But I'm a big ISTE geek. This is my sixth ISTE conference. Much different, like you said, than in the past. But I think getting to talk to more people, I think, in a different manner. So I'm also the president of the Technology Coordinators PLN, which is what this session kind of came from. It's our fifth year of hosting two different panel discussions that we've done. So a little plug for Friday in the afternoon. We've got one for CTOs. That's going to be a really good session as well.
Excellent. All right, let's go to Amy.
Amy Hudson Estep. I am the educational technologist at Franklin City Schools, small town in Southwest Ohio. We're like halfway between Cincinnati, Dayton, somewhere in there, small little town. This would be my third, I think, ISTE, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, pretty sure. Educational technologist. I do a little bit of everything. Tech coach, our social media and website. I'd like to pretend that I do a little bit of a deal with our network, but that's not really that true. It's not. I have an awesome team that I work with, but yeah, kind of excited about this is like late nights for me in a row where I get to hang out with like a party group of people. So I'm kind of excited.
Nice. Derek says, sounds like a librarian. All right, cool. And then last we have Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Armijo. I'm the Education Technology Coordinator for the Moriarty Edgewood School District in New Mexico. I'm in the central part of New Mexico in a rural district where outside of Albuquerque byways and just wide open spaces. Our district is pretty small. We have 6 schools, about 2,300 students. But we also cover the largest physical space in the state. We cover our district serves over 1,054 square miles or something like that. So we have students that come from very far away. Some of our students spend 2 hours on the bus one way, each direction. And so it's kind of brings some interesting challenges. I've been with the district my whole career in education, which is about 15 years. And prior to that, I was a multimedia designer. And yeah, that's me.
Wow. Now, I think I need to bring up the map of the United States so folks know, but at least of Ohio and northern Kentucky, so people know those, those geographical references that were made during that time. Well, I'm glad you guys decided to join us. Valerie just stepped out for just a second. She had to take her daughter to gymnastics, and Margaret says, "Yay, gymnastics!" I'm good with that as well. I don't miss gymnastics, but my daughter's a dancer, so they're on their way to dancing. So I get a chance to talk to you guys. So let's just talk about, I'm gonna jump back over to the Ohio crew here, because you mentioned that you've been doing this, with ISTE for some time now. So what is it that you said you're going to present to, the
CTOs.
technology CTOs later on in the week? But what have you guys done so far here at ISTE?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So every year, the technology coordinators group, we basically formulate this, and we get to pick, 4 or 5 new people every year to help out. So Chris, Jason, Amy, and then we also had Stephanie Howell, who unfortunately couldn't be with us because she's presenting again at ISTE right now. So, but yeah, so basically, it's just the conversation was a lot about ed tech coaches and what their role is and how that role is changing and how that role is just so important. And, we get that question all the time. Well, technology coordinators is mostly CTOs and tech directors and things like that. But I'm so appreciative of the work that our coaches do with our kids, with our teachers, with our principals, and really they're the boots on the ground that are doing that. So we really want to appreciate their work. We want to say thank you as much as we can. And then we want to continue to advocate for them, because most schools, if they added a position this year, they probably added some kind of an instructional technology coach,
right.
Just because that's the world we're living in now. So these guys got to share a lot of their experiences and a lot of the things that they've done. All those, how is my job changing? And what are some tidbits that we learned along the way? And what are some things we're going to keep a hold of and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, so Jason, you mentioned that you wear a lot of hats, and Brian just talked about how your job is changing, in this particular opportunity that we find ourselves in. So how has your role changed, and what did you talk about that?
Well, this is my 8th year to being a library media specialist. It's completely changed since I started, but even my school district, which is really weird, in May, I work beside with a technology specialist in my building, and we both kind of like weave together. So most of my job is more like an ed tech technology coach with my teachers and working with students than it really is truly in library. I probably can get about 20% of my role is oriented towards the literacy part, because we're so integrated with technology, and our school district has been doing, we've been 1-to-1 for about 7 years now. So my role is pretty much in that whole thing. Other than my title and my background in library science, I kind of wear both. They get 2 for 1 in my role. But what's funny is in May, they eliminated the other position for the person I was working with in my school district, which is like, a lot of people were like, wow, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess I'm just going to do it. So I'm living more in the ed tech realm, which is fine with me. I grow that way, so it's something I'm really passionate about, really excited about. I was just going to mention too today, like going back, I went to school today to work, and here in Kentucky they passed an executive order that all schools are out till January 4th. So I went back in today and helping teachers and working with people, and it just makes me reflect on so much of where I would be last year. Would be like pushing on things. But now I'm doing a lot more listening, and now I'm doing a lot more reflection with people. And now I'm slowing down to like address their needs and being very selfless, which is something I probably wouldn't have done in the past.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I think this is the time where we actually listen more than ever, because a lot of people are bringing more than just trying to figure out how to do this tech or this distance learning or hybrid method or whatever. They're bringing a whole lot more to the table today with what education looks like. And if they don't have a chance to have someone sitting in front of them with an ear. You know, they can feel lost or they can feel dejected. For the most part. I'm gonna switch over to you, Chris, because you mentioned that your kids are coming from afar. And this is the challenge. Jason saying that they are going back to virtual. All the way through January. What has been the impact on what it is that you do though on the kids?
Well, so we started the year in our state. We were planning to be in the hybrid model, and which would mean that we could have 50% of our students on campus at a time. So we were going to do A and B cohort. A cohort comes to school Monday, Tuesday. B cohort Thursday, Friday. Wednesday's completely online, and so students have 2 face-to-face days and 3 online days, and we were all prepared for that, ready to go. And right before school started, we had another lockdown. And then a few weeks into that, then the governor said that our elementaries could come back part in hybrid, but we had to keep secondary at remote learning. And so secondary's been remote learning all year. We were in hybrid for elementary for a while, but all of this, when you're figuring out these very complicated transportation issues, that was a huge impact, because when we're creating the cohorts and we're trying to figure out families and bus routes to schools, because a lot of our buses have K-12 kids on them because they're coming from so far, and it's not just to one school, and they're doing several drop-offs. The logistics of it was crazy. And then now we're all in remote too again. And I don't know when it will change, but so definitely some challenges in that, because we are so rural. A lot of areas in our district don't have internet available. There is no internet. And so we had to purchase mobile hotspots to provide to students that didn't have internet, and also, frankly, to many of our teachers that don't have internet at home or great internet at home. Luckily, we are one-to-one Chromebooks from kindergarten through 12th grade, so we had the devices, but we did have to make some arrangements to get internet available. And you mentioned earlier about equity and really all the pieces of that. Even though we've gotten the devices are settled and internet is available to everyone, there's still so many subtle things that that don't occur to people when we have households that have 5 students maybe, and so they have the devices and they have internet, but if they're all scheduled to be in meets at the same time and actually doing things that take bandwidth, it still is not possible in all situations. And mom and dad are working from home too. And, how does that look? And so it's not enough to just have the technology there. You have to think through so many other logistics and really make sure that it's fair for everybody, and getting teachers to understand that and learn to have grace for those situations. But of course, like you said too, they're dealing with all their own technical issues, and so that grace is starting. Oh yes, I need to give grace because I too need the grace. So yeah, kind of crazy, but
that is the key
lots
word.
Of layers.
Grace, for sure. We've been preaching that a lot here. Just to let you guys know a little background, I have 4 kids. So I have one at every level: college, high school, middle, and elementary. And at one point, we were all here doing virtual learning, and my wife was here. She moved into my office. I really don't know what happened. That's all of a sudden it just changed. But she moved into my office, and our neighbor installed internet, right? So we have fiber optics. He decided to finally get on board because he had kids at home. They accidentally snipped our line. Right, at the pole. So we were out of internet for a week, right? No one believed me. I love it when the tech calls you and try to explain to you what's going on. And you're like, dude, I know what really happened.
Yeah.
Let me school you real quick.
Exactly.
So they got it back on, had to run a whole new wire, but they hadn't buried it yet, right? Fiber optic has to be buried. Well, someone in the alley pulled the line from the pole again. So there was a second week where I was out of internet. So we have 5 phones, got a bunch of kids. So we have 5 phones. We used up every single one of the data hotspots on our devices. And I had a teacher who gave my son a 0 because his assignment was late because we did not have internet. So, Amy, I'm going to jump over to you real quick.
Wow.
Good segue there.
And my turn.
How, knowing that, grace is important and understanding that we all are dealing with different struggles and equity is an issue, how do we address when people are still trying to do things in a traditional manner when we're not in a traditional educational setting?
It's really interesting that you mentioned some of that. A little bit of what I mentioned in our panel before is we talked about we have roughly a third of our population that doesn't have access. And now we are all in person right now, so it hasn't been a huge issue for us. But if we were to have to go, obviously that would change. And we had talked about that. But one of the big emphasis in some of the PD that I did in the spring, and then when they came back in the fall with my teachers, is low tech to no tech things that you can do. And I have a STEAM teacher in my elementary buildings that is phenomenal, and worked with him a little bit in some of the activities that he had put together for his class when we had to go virtual in the spring, because my own child was in his class and was like loving doing these activities. It was the only part of the virtual learning he looked forward to doing every day. And I'm like, I need to tap into this for the other ones. And so it's been really interesting to do some of those activities with some things that kids might already have at home. Like he did an egg drop activity for them. They had to create a musical instrument out of something that was at home. They had to, because as you mentioned before, using phones, the majority of our kids, even at the elementary level, somebody in that household has a phone. So you might not have actual internet access or the hotspot on the phone, but they did have an actual phone. And so they would let them submit videos all the time of, take a walk and find some of the things we did for primary were things like when they're learning their numbers, it was find 3 examples of circles outside or in your home, things like that, that are still addressing some of those standards, but it is low to no tech. Because in dealing, I know some of you mentioned you issued hotspots. I know somebody said like 200 hotspots or something like that in the comments. We are a very small district, and finding the funds to be able to do that for a third of our population, I don't know how we would manage that, because we've looked at a bunch of different options. And so it was like, okay, my job is then to come up with these low tech to no tech options for those kids instead of just paper packets, because that's not doing anything. I mean, I know it's something for kids like the paper packets, but it's just the engagement piece is not there. And so how can we look at our instruction that we're doing now in person, and what can that look like at home if you're without that access? And a lot of that, at least from my perspective, came back from looking at some of those power standards, like what do they need to know? What do they absolutely need to know by the time they leave like first grade? Okay, let's look at these like 5 things, and everything we do functions around just those 5 things. And that's what we'll focus on. And it was a really good perspective from teachers at then having to address, like, what do we think are the most important things? We have a lot of different things that we have to cover by the time state testing rolls around in the spring, but it's like, what is absolutely essential at each grade level? So it did drive a lot of really good curriculum work too. So I think I don't remember the original question. I just sort of got off on a tangent about the whole low tech, no tech and standards, and
But that worked perfectly,
Okay.
It worked perfectly because you're right. You really have to rethink the situation that you're in. And one of my quotes that I constantly use when I present is, we've gone from the Model T to Tesla in the last 100 years, but education still remains the same. Right now we're forced to innovate. However, many of us, are all in the same space. And I know Tish, agree with me here. We've been preaching a lot of this stuff for a long time, and now here it is where we're kind of forced to to live in this particular world, and I've been telling people don't stop with the "I told you so's," and let's do some let's have some empathy and a little grace in the situation. But Tish, you do a great job in leveraging probably one of the most important voices in the school, and that's our students. In this particular time, how has that been valuable?
Well, it's been really interesting because of ISTE this week and being here, working, juggling work, mentoring students and teachers and trying to attend sessions and go Team Owl. I'm on there trying to find the Easter eggs all the time, right? So between my breaks. But what's interesting about the format is it has prompted conversations, not just with my teachers. So I'm going to these sessions and it's prompting thoughts, as I'm watching people present, and it's forcing me to talk to my teachers and ask them questions about being innovative. And I think that, that's what we're all saying. Basically, we all are forced now into this innovative space to make things work without having a mold. But what that has prompted this week is it's also prompted me to ask students, not just my student leaders, but students in our building, and talking about creativity and talking about innovation and talking about engagement. And I don't think I would have had those conversations with them if I had been in California this week. I'm really thankful. I mean, that's one of the benefits because I'm able to have those conversations immediately after a session is over. And so the students, we are High Flex, which is teachers are teaching students, 20 plus students in a classroom maybe, and then they're also teaching the online students at the same time. And talk about a challenge for everybody involved. The students in the classroom are struggling because the teacher's attention can't all be on them, and the students online, maybe the teacher's expecting so my two kids, I am very similar to Brian. I have a college age student at home. I have a high schooler and I have an elementary student, and my two students in elementary and high school are home while I'm at work, and they're doing online learning, and their teachers, especially at the elementary level and also the high school level, the expectation is you're on Zoom the whole time. So the whole 90 minutes. And I'm just going to tell you, in my role and being a parent, that is probably my biggest struggle, because I know it's not good for my own kids. I know it's not good for any kids. Sometimes they feel left out. Sometimes they feel left out all the time. Let me be honest. They are missing out on so much. The social aspect, the sports that they were involved in. For those of you that don't know, my son actually is a childhood cancer survivor. And so we take extra precautions. I mean, there's a reason, we're not just doing online learning because they get to sleep in or whatever. So it has been a struggle. It's a struggle for everybody involved. And I think it just patience, right? Brian said at the beginning of the show, pack the patience. I love that phrase because I feel like we're all having to pack double suitcases, right? And our students, I always say this, and I said this to the students today that I talked to. I had some freshmen that are in my activity period where we do social emotional learning, and just talking with them, they want to be engaged. They want to be engaged. They want to be able to ask questions. They want to create things. And I think, that's really where my conversations this week have landed. Let's give them opportunities that we did not give them before. Give them opportunities for voice. Give them opportunities to create. Like Amy said, it doesn't have to be high tech. You can have them go outside and take pictures with their phone, or, one of my activities with my son was to take a walk in the spring and take pictures of 10 nouns that he found, and upload those into Seesaw. I mean, which was very low tech, but he had such a great time doing that. So I don't know. I think we're all just in that space where we're being pushed to the edge. And even for me, I think sometimes we all probably get grouped into that innovative group. But I've got teachers right now who are digging their heels in and they're wanting to die on a hill because they want to do it how they've always done it. And I keep saying, no kidding. And I know he's not watching, but I have a teacher, a math teacher, who came to me and said, Tisha, I cannot continue to do assessments on Google Forms. It's driving me crazy. It's not working. I just don't love it. I mean, he gave me all the reasons that it didn't work. And I use design thinking process whenever I talk through my teachers through a problem. And I said, well, you could do Nearpod and you could do, here are all these options. I have so many ideas for you. And he came up with an excuse for every one of them today. And because I have built that relationship with that teacher, all of my teachers, somebody said that in the beginning, relationships is 100% the key. I was able to have that tough conversation with him and challenge him. And he said, well, do I want it to be convenient for me so I don't lose my sanity, or is the learning for my students more important? And I said, you tell me what the answer is. What is the answer for you right now? Again, listening, talking them through conversations. I'm a lot like Jason. I feel like I'm not so much pushing them over the edge because they're almost already there. I'm just listening and encouraging and taking those opportunities when teachers ask me, today, one of them said, can I use Pinterest? And I was like, that's probably not a good plan. It's not district approved. Why are you not using Wakelet? You can go in there and change the layout, and you can achieve what you need to achieve with your students with this tool. And so I find those pockets of innovation whenever they come along and really try to take advantage of them. But yeah, tough conversations this year. Everybody thought Tisha's gonna just be in her element, and the truth is I am. But some of my teachers, because they can't control anything else, they want to control that little tiny piece, right, and hang on to it. So
you mentioned people thinking that you're in your element. I remember that I was on a call. This was back in the spring when we were all at home, and somebody said to me, you must be loving this. This must be great. This is like what you wanted. And I'm like, this is not what I wanted. No, it is not. I mean, we're hoping that some of the things that have come out of this are going to transform education, and we're not going to go back, but there is no way this is how I would have done it. No.
I agree.
Right.
With you, Amy.
And that's where the opportunity is. I've said this from the beginning. There is no way that we can ever go back, regardless of when this is all over. We cannot go back to the way things, the way they were done before. That's why I said get rid of the word normal, because, normal didn't work for everyone in the first place, right? But normal kept us decades behind as well because it was comfortable. So you talked about having those difficult conversations. Sometimes it takes you to be stretched and uncomfortable in order to realize that you've got room to grow.
Yeah.
Say that all the time.
Brene Brown says
great.
that. I don't know if you guys listen to the Brene Brown podcast, but I'm obsessed with all of her podcasts. Listen to them every time they come out. And there is a quote that I have on my mirror now that if you are comfortable, you're not learning. And I remind myself of that every day because I think it's important to remember this is uncomfortable, but we all are learning. We're all taking a lesson away from this. Some of us are kicking and screaming as we're doing it, but we're all taking something away. And we're not going to go back. How can you?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a little pushback to that one because you can learn in comfort, but the idea is to be satisfied to stay there.
Right.
Once you are comfortable, that just means that that's the beginning to go further.
Yeah.
That's what what it is. Valerie,
I love that you push back, Brian, because my high school daughter loves to push back on all the quotes I give her because she was like, well, I don't agree. I agree with being uncomfortable, Mom, but whenever I'm crying in tears over this one class, I mean, we've got to come up with an action plan. It's like, okay, I get it.
Well, Valerie's back from giving us a tour of Atlanta. While she was driving.
I know. I literally just said, "Go, Bella, go in." And of course, they're supposed to have someone at the door that scans their forehead, and she's standing there impatiently. And of course, as soon as I walk in there, it's a dead zone. So I'm like, "Okay, Bella, Mommy's running back to the car. They'll take care of you." So, but I'm glad that Amy, Tisha, and Brian talked about this, because I was going to talk about in all of this, Jason, Brian, what do you guys see as the blessing in all of this? And it sounds like you guys started to talk about it. Some people looked at this COVID-19 situation as, oh my gosh, a curse. Oh, I can't stand this. We've got to go back to normal, so to speak. But let's talk about those blessings that have come out of all of this as well. If you guys want to add to that.
Sure. Brian, go ahead. You go first. I'll go second.
Not this Brian, that Brian.
Yeah.
Are you muted?
I think you're on
Brian
mute.
must be
Brian.
muted.
Sorry, the baby was crying in the background, so I muted my mic. So I think the biggest thing is it gave teachers the ability to experiment a little bit. They weren't structured into that same thing. We didn't do teacher evaluations in the spring, all those types of things. So let's try some different things. Let's get out of, as you guys have said, out of your comfort zone a little bit. And just try something different. And then I know for us, we've been pushing technology for 8 years now that I've been in this position. And there's been some teachers that have just held on to everything and wanted to do everything very traditional. And now when you're at home and your kids are all at home, you can't do it traditional anymore. So, we've got to be able to push those different things. And then it's also allowed us to play with space and time a little bit as well, too. We have gone almost fully asynchronous when we've done at home type stuff. So we're hybrid model right now, 2 days in, 3 days at home. And those 3 days at home, it's completely asynchronous because we can't get, Tisha, I feel so bad for your teachers to have to do that. I fought and fought and fought to not do that because I wanted when those 2 days that the kids were in school, I wanted the teacher to focus on them and not the other half of the class. Right. So we need to figure out assignments and activities for them to do that they can do on their own. So we've done a lot of working together. Our teachers have teacher-based teams across the entire district. So all the third grade teachers, for example, are working together, and one third grade teacher creates that instructional video and then shares it to all of the third graders. So it may not be your own teacher doing the lesson, but it is a third grade teacher in the district. So that collaborative effort has been incredible. The ability to work in different spaces and times. And, we're getting analytics all the time of kids working on the weekends, kids working at 1 o'clock in the morning, kids having to babysit. So then they have to do their work afterwards. So it's all these different things. And you know what? The learning's still happening. The learning is still working because our teachers are being flexible enough to work with our kids at all of these different times and all of these different options. So the question then goes to is what do we hold on to? What did we get from this that we can continue to move that work forward? So we've got a virtual learning academy. We've got a hybrid model. We've got kids that are back in school full time. Can we continue doing those things? And then the question too is we tried to pass a levy to build a new building. It failed, unfortunately, but do we really need as many buildings as we have if kids aren't there all the time? So I think there's a lot of things that, like you said, there were blessings that came out of this. And now we just need to figure out what those are and how can we continue moving that work forward to when we're to, Brian, excuse me, but to whatever our new, I won't say the word, but whatever the new is after, we get, past this hurdle that we're in right now.
New reality.
Yes. Jason, we'll let you jump in. And then Chris, if you'd like to add on to that as well.
I want to just give you 2 things to add because a lot of the stuff that Brian said, I agree with. And I just want to build on, but I think the 2 biggies that stick with me are this. The mentality of teachers has changed from us versus them to the concept of we. I've talked to a lot of teachers and they're no longer seeing their high school students as a battle. They're kind of seeing them as a partner in the learning. That I've seen that dynamic change in a lot of classes I didn't think would change or I would see. I work in a very traditional, high-performing high school, probably the most high-performing high school in the state of Kentucky, a public school, and I've seen that dynamic change from I'm the whole gatekeeper. I have all the things here, and you're going to follow and do what I say to more of a we approach. So that's positive. That's pushing the needle forward. The other thing I see is people will truly look at assessment. We're fundamentally like looking at what we want kids to be able to do and demonstrate. And we're serious about Blooms, if we're serious about our TPAC, if we're serious about putting kids in situations where they're creating and making and evaluating and doing this higher level things, we have to fundamentally look at our grading practices. And we have to look at assessment. Yes. And we have to look at these things from a clear lens, like, are we truly being equitable? Are we giving every child the benefit of the doubt to show they're learning? And those kind of conversations get me excited, because that's one of the reasons that I actually got into education, was to help other people. And those two biggies are some of the largest obstacles that do not allow for children to succeed in school and or see themselves as successful. In many ways, they're set up to weed them out. So I see those things like changing, and I'm excited about it. I'm, again, coming from a position where I'm in a very traditional school that has a very high performing kind of situation. But if that can happen here, I can only imagine where it can happen other places too. So I'm hoping that continues, and I'm excited about it. We're in the storm right now, but the storm's not going to be forever. So I really think tomorrow is going to be even better.
That's right. Beautiful. Chris, what do you have to add?
Well, for one thing, I know of some K2 teachers that might actually let their kids take the Chromebooks out of the carts in the classroom in the future because they will believe that they can, after all, even though I've been trying to convince them for a while. Yes, they can do it. No, they can't. They're too little. So that'll be a big thing. But one of the things that I was talking to our superintendent yesterday and talking about how really we, by necessity, are seeing teachers dive into UDL, even though they don't realize that's what they're doing, because they have the attitude that they're going to do whatever it takes for kids to learn right now. So they are presenting things in multiple representations, right? Multiple engagement, multiple representations of the information. Oh, you weren't able to watch the video? Okay, well, here's a link. You can go and read this or whatever. Like, they're presenting the information in so many different ways to make sure that kids can get it. And then they're also accepting, like, I can't remember who was talking earlier, but I'll take a picture late. I'll take whatever it is. It doesn't have to look the way I envisioned it or the way it would have been in my classroom, but I'll take it. And so since they've done it out of necessity now, using that as a lens to say, this is still beautiful. This is still a good thing to do. And so much of the things that they're trying now are really just good teaching that are going to transition right back into the new reality, whatever it is, moving forward, right?
That's going to be the challenge for 2020 is how to avoid using that word.
Nice. No, I agree with all of you guys. I think, Jason, when you talked about that hope of, some of these things are things that we have been doing. We know because we are connected educators and we're learners and we're seeing it across the board, but trying to communicate it to other people, it almost seemed like you were up at a block. Tisha talked about that creativity and that innovation and sometimes it doesn't have to be all magical. And, Chris, trusting the littles that they can handle the technology as long as you model it and train them and trust them. Bella, she's my little one. I mean, it only took her the first 2 days of digital learning. And then she's like, Daddy, I got this. Go away. She knew how to go through the LMS and click, and she could read things on her own and navigate. And, after a while, he was like, the kids really don't even need me here at home. He's like, they really have it. So, of course, then he subscribed to Netflix and started watching Blacklist. But you're right. I mean, I think there's that hope, and hopefully teachers, when it comes to the PD sessions, they can approach those a little bit differently, because I think these are things that we were trying to give them in PD, and there was that pushback in that fight, but maybe now they're natural learners because they're experiencing what some of our students have experienced or what their students have been saying to them. We want more. We want to be engaged. We want to push you as our teacher and hope that you will be a student as well. And so hopefully, guys, the work that we all have been doing, now we've got a bigger crew. We've got more soldiers on board, or more fishermen in the boat with us, however you want to use it. And we can really make some good moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's also I'll just have one final question. That's usually the beauty of participating in conferences like ISTE. You come in and you see all the wonderful things and the possibilities and the hope that's on the horizon, for many situations. But nevertheless, when people, I equate it like this, we go to church on Sunday, we get filled, but Monday comes, and things, start all over for you. When they leave the conference, typically, when it's in the summertime, it's hard to adjust to the box that some people are in when they get back onto their campuses, right? So we know, or we believe, that we understand what needs to be done and what the next steps could be, or the possibilities that are out there. But many people who have not yet experienced that jubilation, of taking risk, they go home and then they don't have necessarily the leadership in place, to allow them to try something new. Because maybe it's the data that they're more concerned with instead of the child, or whatever the case may be. What is your words of encouragement for them as they go back to their even though they're there right now because we're not in Anaheim, but when they leave this conference or when they leave your sessions, what is that words of encouragement that you can give them to let them know this is going to be all right?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to find your tribe, find those people that are going to gravitate towards your ideas, and those people that are going to go with you. Find that, if you're a teacher and you need to find an administrator that's willing to jump on board with you. The other thing that we've done here in Ohio that's been wonderful during this whole pandemic, and Amy has been part of some of these, is we've done statewide calls, and we have met more, and I have seen people from the state more. Usually we see each other at like Ohio Ed Tech Conference, and that's about it. But we've been able to meet almost on a weekly basis, and bounce ideas off of each other. So it's almost like you're having a mini ISTE every week to be able to get that support. And then that also helps your momentum moving forward as well too, because if you keep hitting roadblocks and you don't have anybody else there to help you or to motivate you forward, but it's all about that. It's all about moving that work forward, continuing doing what you think is best. You're in this position for a reason, and just keep moving forward.
I think something too that I talk to my teachers about a lot of the times is feel like you have the freedom to fail. And I think that's very difficult. And sometimes that's a top-down thing at times, but we have to give them that ability to feel like if you try something and it is not successful, that doesn't mean that you are a failure. That's not what that means, and so giving them the space and the environment and the encouragement and those relationships to feel like that they have the opportunity to fail, and that's okay. That's why I really firmly believe that when we took away in the spring, we didn't do evaluations either. And I think that was one of the greatest things we could do. I really feel like we should be doing that right now too, as well. To give teachers that opportunity to experiment more and do and try new things, branch out a little bit more. I think you're going to get more out of that because they're not so concerned about, well, this could be tied to my evaluation, and it's okay. So I think that would be one of the biggest things for me is to just encourage them that it's okay if you fail. It is. We've all done it too.
I like what Amy said because it leads into what I'm going to tell you. Students can lead in any opportunity, but you have to give them those opportunities. And in order for them to take a risk in your classroom, as an educator, you have to be willing to take a risk too, and first, and be able to flip that script and say, student, come sit by me and show me how you worked that Chromebook. Or, my son is texting me things and audio recording things now. And I really attribute that to his on learner autonomy because of the online learning. So just don't be afraid. Let them lead. Let them lead you.
Yep.
I'll just add, I think one thing you really need to focus on is really lend it to student voice and choice, and what you're asking students to do with where your content is and where your goals are. These kids have a really amazing potential if you're just willing to let them shine and show what they can creatively. And oftentimes it could be something that's very low tech all the way to the most high tech thing you can think of. But willing to be open and trust them and give them that voice in their learning, I think you're going to see a lot of better results. I highly suggest taking a look and revisit some of the Buck Institute stuff with PBL. Make your own Frankenstein with it. Take some of those pieces, be a pirate, take apart some of those things and use them for what you need, but add those pieces. And I think you're going to see students be a little bit more happier in what they're being asked to do because they're being able to be empowered with their learning.
Wow, Jason, I need that on a t-shirt. If you could just whip that up real quick, send it to me.
I like make your own Frankenstein. I like that.
Well, I mean, you have to, it's okay to be shameless. That's all right. I mean, the whole point is sharing, right? This is a human experience. So, no one's an island.
That's right.
Yeah.
Love it. Chris, did you want to add something before we close out?
I can't add anything better than any of
Put you on the
that.
spot.
I mean, I'm just sitting there going, yep, that's what I would have said. Absolutely.
Love it. All right. Well, the 6 o'clock, is it 6 o'clock my time, Central Standard Time, but the next sessions are going to start here at ISTE here real soon. I'll pull up the schedule. But what do you guys have coming up the rest of the week?
Yeah.
I'm presenting on.
Parenting, cooking, cleaning, all the fun stuff.
I'm presenting on Saturday on Students Can Lead, and I'm going to be sharing what my students are doing, like Jason said, with voice and choice, and they're leading the learning. They're recording podcasts. They are basically telling Miss Poncio what she needs to be doing.
That one's on my list.
We've got our CTO boot camp on Friday. And then the one main stage that I'm really excited to see is Hamish Brewer on Saturday.
Yes.
If you've never seen him speak, he is fantastic.
It's incredible.
So I'm very excited. That's the number one on my list.
Same.
Yeah.
I'll be doing a poster session also for people if you want to fast track a maker session or club in your school, and that'll be on Saturday, where every child can actually be an engineer, and I'll be happy to show them about Autodesk. So,
Autodesk, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys are going to be busy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't taken the time to search the program at ISTE, make sure you go to conference.iste.org. Go ahead and log in. Just click on the browse the program at the top, and then actually let me go back there for you so you can actually see how that's actually done. If it'll actually keep up, because I got a lot of bandwidth going on with these people on right now. But you click on search the program, there's Hamish right there. You'll be able to actually just click on the day that you're actually going to be active, and then you can scroll through the different sessions. Make sure you star the ones you're planning on to participate in. That way it'll show up inside of your dashboard, and then you can actually set up some notifications to let you know when it's actually coming up. Good stuff happening the rest of the week here at ISTE. I am so grateful that you all decided to join us this evening to talk a little bit about, not just what you've done so far, but how it all applies to what it is that we're actually doing now. And we will definitely make sure that we keep in touch with you guys. You got some good stuff going on in all the different parts of the country. We'd love to have you guys on Pass the Scope EDU sometime in the future to continue to share out and amplify your voice and your stories, and to give us an opportunity to share out with the world the marvelous things that you are doing.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, this was great.
Yes.
Thank you both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the ISTE attendees are the ones that amplified you guys, because, when we asked what were some of the best sessions and the takeaways, you guys were the names that popped up, and we appreciated the resources that you had. And I said, okay, those are the people that I'll reach out to. And Brian made all this beautiful magic happen here on screen. And And this is what it's all about. Truly, it is connecting with people. And, all of you I'm meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
And so that's where the power is, just finding those like minds and that tribe that Brian spoke of, and just amplifying the work that you guys are doing. And I hope that all the viewers right now will take the time to follow you guys. Please continue to tweet out your resources from the sessions that you've already shared, so that they can continue to learn with you this week at ISTE and beyond ISTE.
Yeah, indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be with you the rest of the week, each night from 5 to 6, giving you a glimpse of what's taking place and then what's to come in ISTE. And we'll have more people on to share their experiences. But we also want to hear from you. So make sure that you're interactive, on any of those channels. We'll be on Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook as well. But we'll also be at passthescopeedu.com. Just click the ISTE 20 link, and it'll take you right to the live broadcast. We'll be having giveaways the rest of the week. I won't tell you what they are right now, so you have to pay attention to Twitter to find out. Just follow the hashtag PassTheScopeEDU and ISTE 2020. And actually, no, which one we're doing? ISTE 20 or ISTE 2020?
ISTE 20, I think.
20.
Every year there's like multiple hashtags. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you all real soon.